Well, here it is. My first and a soon-to-be very, very long series of episode analysis videos. Let's just see what else is. Oh my. That is a lot. And the animated shorts and the movies, and is that a third movie? Oh, this will take a while.
My little pony, my little pony.
You're so insensitive. Aha! I knew it! Yeah! Oh, yes, 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 thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. Yay!
This is it. The pilot episodes. The beginning of the phenomenon that reached out to an audience of young girls, but instead hooked itself a whopping audience of bronies and pegasuses worldwide. What else could be said about these two episodes that hasn't been said before? While it's been praised for its originality and charm, it's also been bashed for its poor character development and rushed plot. Me personally, I'm still in the middle ground. Let me explain why. The episode starts with a classic storybook opening, and we're given an introduction to the rulers of Equestria, Princess Celestia and Luna. Luna grew jealous of Celestia because every pony slept in the night, but worked and played during the day. From her bitterness, she became Nightmare Moon, a dark alicorn hellbent on having eternal night throughout the world. Using the elements of harmony, Princess Celestia banished her sister to the moon and is tasked with doing the duty of raising both the sun and the moon. Cut to a millennia later, and we're introduced to Twilight Sparkle, a unicorn under the personal tutelage of Princess Celestia. After reading what was just narrated to us, she realizes that within the next couple of days, Luna will be released and cause eternal night once again. This all happens during the Summer Sun celebration, an event that celebrates the raising of the sun and Luna's banishment to the moon? Huh. Bit of an egotist, aren't you, Celestia? Anywho, Twilight tries to tell Celestia about the coming threat, but is instead told to go to Ponyville and make some friends, whilst helping with the celebration. It's while in town that she meets the future Main 5. Now here's the big fork in the road for many of the viewers watching at this point. The characters' introductions. While some of them are alright enough, the two that stand out most for me are Pinkie Pie and Applejack. While many find Pinkie's trademark gasp to be hilarious, I found it irritating and incredibly awkward. The first time I heard her make this gasp, I immediately got a headache and dismissed her as an unimportant side character. And that's a big issue I have with this. She proves later in the series to be a very likable person, or pony, and have a good moral standing. She goes out of her way to make some pony's day, sometimes, and always tries to have a cheery disposition. Her dream is to pretty much have every pony smiling and happy. That all could have been said or implied when we first met her. To have this be her first impression to both the main character and the audience is just...
Well, that was interesting, alright.
well, that's one word for it. The other problem is with Applejack's introduction. When Twilight first meets Rainbow Dash and Rarity, we at least learn a little bit about their dreams and aspirations. Well, as much as I could fit within a 22-minute runtime. With AJ, we only get an introduction to her family, before having her whisk Twilight away and stuff her with apple-related foods. On my first watch, this also made me dismiss her as an unimportant character. Again, I was proven wrong as shown later in the series. In fact, she's pretty much my favorite character in the whole show just because of her amazing work ethic, her strong family ties, and her compulsion to always be honest. When she's written well, anyway. Now we get to Fluttershy. Fluttershy's first appearance was, well, I don't exactly know what to think about it. As a shy character, she's not easily trusting of Twilight and doesn't speak to her very much. When she sees Spike, a new creature she's never seen up close before, she's totally open to him and acts like an old friend. I feel that she's introduced relatively well for her personality, but I still wish we got more information from this encounter other than she likes animals and she's shy. Well, after that encounter, she goes to the library, which also serves as her home. She's then given a surprise party, and then we actually get to hear Pinkie speak. Like I said, when I got to this part, I completely tuned her out because I had already dismissed her as unimportant, and honestly, I found her voice to be incredibly irritating. Twilight retreats up to her room, and we're finally only now hearing again about this great threat that had her so concerned from the beginning of the episode. Spike tells her it's time to watch the sunrise, and every pony goes to Town Hall. After discovering that Celestia has vanished, Nightmare Moon appears. Now, let me stop here for a second and just kind of geek out about how good of a villain Nightmare Moon is. Villains are my favorite thing when it comes to a TV show or even a cartoon. They're what drive the plot forward and are, no offense, more interesting than the heroes. With Nightmare Moon in particular, I immediately remember the scene in Disney's Sleeping Beauty where Maleficent appears before King Stephen's court. They both act in a very calm, cool manner while imposing their will over everyone in the room. They both address the crowd as if they're beneath them and barely worth their time, and they both get snubbed when they find out they're not wanted there. They even stave off the guards and leave in the exact same manner. It's safe to assume that Lauren drew inspiration from Maleficent for this scene, and it works out beautifully. The way she first appears immediately had me sitting up straight and interested in what was happening. And to be blunt, I was interested to see what she would do in part 2, and that's the main reason why I stuck around. Ironically enough, I'm not even that big of a Luna fanboy. But I'll get into that another time when the Luna Zealots have stopped banging at my door. This episode for me was both very good and bad at what it was trying to accomplish. It had me interested in some of its characters, some of its setting, and entirely on the plot and the villain that they had put to the side just to phone in many different personalities. I know this was new ground for Lauren Faust as she was weaving this world into creation, but she's been phenomenal at this before, such as with Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends and Powerpuff Girls. Both had interesting characters, likable main characters, and big settings which they could do nearly anything with. With this, I felt like it was kind of limited simply because it was in a little village within a world that had yet to be established. I mean, yeah, it was filled with magical talking pastel horses, but they were just living normal, everyday, slice-of-life lives like anyone else would. I honestly nearly called quits after my first watch simply because I felt that this was all it was gonna be. And I am so very glad that I didn't.
Why, it's Maleficent.
What does she want here?
Well, quite a glittering assemblage, King Stephen. Royalty, nobility, the gentry, and... how quaint. Even the rabble. I really felt quite distressed at not receiving an invitation.
You weren't wanted.
Not what? Oh dear.